Reynolds, president of Nebraska Wesleyan University, and it is my delight that we are hosting NGAL 4. I can't wait for the pitches to come. Before that, we have the privilege this morning to be welcomed to the city of Lincoln by our Mayor, Chris Beitler. Let me say by way of introduction that Mayor Beitler is the longest serving mayor in the history of the city of Lincoln. I believe early in your 12th year of service now. Is that right?
That's right.
That's right. And with regard to our program, let me say that Mayor Beitler understands exceptionally well that innovation is the jib sail of a thriving city. And jib goes this way: jobs, investments, and buzz. Please welcome Mayor Chris Beitler.
Good morning to you all. Are you ready for the pitches? Yeah. You know, I'm going to be very short because, as you all know, standing between people and their lunch is bad, but standing between people and these pitches, I think, is going to be worse. So we'll get on with the show here, but I want to thank Dr. Oles and all of you for giving me a chance to welcome our young students from Estonia and from Charleston here to Lincoln, and for being able to come and welcome you and encourage the activity that is represented today. I want to thank all of the dignitaries and the guests and the students alike. I want to issue a special welcome, of course, to the representative and teams from the College of Charleston and Citadel, as well as the University of Tartu and Tulane University of Technology, of course, both of which are located in Estonia. I was in Charleston about a month ago, and I want to compliment the kids from Charleston on their home. It's a beautiful, beautiful representation of colonial culture and our society. Beautiful city. And I know that Estonia has centuries more history than either Charleston and Lincoln, and I look forward one day to visiting over there. But Lincoln is new, of course, but we pride ourselves already in being a good host, and I'm sure that the Nebraska Wesleyan students will be taking the other students around and showing them the town and making this experience for them very memorable. Earlier this year, the livability website named Lincoln and Omaha area as the #1 tech hotspot in the nation. And I'm sure that many of you might have found that surprising until you met with people from Huddle and Nelnet and Firespring and InMotion and Invest Nebraska. I think the opportunity was there the last few days for some interesting exchanges of ideas and information. But all of those people will tell you that Lincoln is a growing, diverse, affordable, and supportive city with a great economy and truly outstanding quality of life. The pioneers and the homesteaders who settled this area, they found that the prairie was a place to make dreams come true. And today's entrepreneurs here are finding still that it's a place to make dreams come true. We're building a culture of innovation here in Lincoln. Currently, we are anxiously awaiting the arrival of a driverless shuttle that we'll be testing this summer later on the street. We envision a fleet of these vehicles downtown in the not too distant future, helping to relieve traffic and parking issues. The next time you visit Lincoln, we hope that we'll be able to take you on a ride. And until then, I'm sure that your Wesleyan hosts will make sure that you get adequate transportation to some of our great restaurants and shops and attractions. I want to give a shout out to the Wesleyan students who won the pitch competition 2 years ago. I understand the Safe Straw is in development. It will be exciting to see it on the market in the future, knowing that it all started with this experience. I also want to join President Olds in recognizing Harry and Reba Hugie for their vision and for their support of education and entrepreneurship. This is a unique experience that they're providing the kids and the communities who are supporting those kids, and I hope it goes on for a very, very long time. But it's an example of the Foundation's national and international focus on providing transformative experiences for students everywhere. Thank you again. Today's pitch competition is a culmination of the journey for the students, but I think you would all agree that no matter who comes out on top, we know that they will have gained valuable experience, insights, and perhaps most importantly, some friendships. These will remain with the students as they continue their educational and career journeys. And for those of you who come from Charleston and from Estonia, I hope that Lincoln's a part of your future in some way, all your life. So good luck to everybody today and best wishes. And hopefully you will all move along to make a to have positive experiences and to make and improve communities all around the world. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning. Let me add my welcome. My name is Bill Blauvelt. I'm Vice President for Enrollment Management here at Nebraska Wesleyan University. Reflecting on Mayor Beiler's comments, I've also served, along with my colleague, Director of Financial Aid, Tom Oshner, as a van driver this week, and I'm thinking maybe in 2 years we may be out of a job with this driverless project that's taking place. So we'll have to see how that plays out. We'll have to look for other opportunities. To just take a moment and make sure we've silenced our phones to ensure that we're not disrupting the concentration of our pitch participants, and prepare for that. And I want to acknowledge again, as has been pointed out, the 5 universities who are sponsors. Their logos are in front of you, along with our sponsorship from Harry and Reba Hugie. We've also had the opportunity to have corporate sponsors support this endeavor this week, and those are the Bank of South Carolina, BCom Solutions, Change Ventures, and Steve Swanson. In addition, as Mayor Beiler alluded to, we've had the great opportunity to be engaged with leaders in the startup community here in Lincoln, and some of those mentors and speakers have included Rich Clausen from Prosper Lincoln, Jay Wilkinson and Christopher Kingsley from Firespring, Jared Carlson from Assurity, Devin Seacrest at Scout Sheet, Corey Scott, Live By, Ben Pankinen, Social Assurance, Mike Dunlap and Chuck Norris from Nelnet, Sarah Mullins, and Udio Oyasar from Change Ventures, along with Brent Comstock of Change Ventures. Business partners, where we visited these sites and had tours of these corporations and organizations, included Firespring, Fuse Co-working, Huddle, Spreetail, and the Nebraska Innovation Campus. Again, recognition coming to us before us in terms of Harry and Reba. Thank you again. So the NGAL experiences included 1 week where the students traveled through Estonia, visiting both cities and the startup communities, received mentorship from leaders there. They brought that experience and the educational foundation here to Lincoln, where some described they've also been involved in this way throughout our community and further developed their pitch ideas. And they will have 4 minutes to present to you in a Shark Tank environment, in a sense, that they will be limited to make their pitch, make it strongly to our judges, and present their ideas. Then there will be 4 to 5 minutes of questions the judges may ask the presenters before the next pitch team will move forward. Our judges are listed in your program, and if you don't have a program, simply raise your hand. We'll make sure that we bring one to you. There are a few out down here in front. And the judges include Ed Steiner, Blaine Rickey, Bill Blauvelt, Marquis Tihanova Craik, and Udio Oyasar. As you might expect, an entrepreneur program involves many changes, and in your program are names of the teams, but those have developed over the course of the last few weeks. So I want to point out our order will be changed, as well as some of the names of the product that the teams will be pitching. So Carzam is now Hank Says. Save Me is now Last Alarm. Lavatech remains as named. Tiny also remains. Totem is now Anonymous. Rest Find is now Resdeck. Buzz Around Maps is Parkway. And lastly, Church. So our order will be Hank Says, Last Alarm, Lavatech, Tiny, Anonymous, Resdeck, Parkway, and Church. Following the last pitch, we will exit the theater and we'll have lemonade and treats available in the lobby for our guests. We'll give the judges approximately 20 minutes to convene and deliberate their decision. We'll announce you to come back into the auditorium, and at that time we will then present the decisions of the judges and present our awards. So therefore, let me get the pitching started and welcome our first presenters, Hank Says. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ali from Access. Have you ever wondered what kind of relationship exists between a car and its owner? These three things will come up to you. A car is a disappointment, could be a liability, a disappointment, and the relationship between a car and its owner is usually not mutual. I'll explain why. We have identified these problems. Unreliability of cars usually causes disappointment for its owners. When you have a problem with your car, it causes time and money to actually diagnose the problem with your car. Then, if you find the problem and you find it late, it causes you a lot of money to actually fix this problem. We have a good news for you. If you use a new car, most likely you don't have this problem because new cars have the ability to send reports to you on a daily basis or on a monthly basis, so you really don't have any problem with that. Now, this is an example of a report from a car. It shows you the engine, transmission, the oil, and a lot of information about the health and the safety of your car. Now, the other news I have for you is that most of the cars that are on the roads today, they are not smart, and we have a lot of cars like that. Now, it means most people driving their cars today, they don't have the best experience from driving their car. Okay, so how do we solve this? We can just plug in a $50 device into this car and make it very smart. That's where ANSYS comes in. ANSYS is a hardware and software product, which is able to use the sound of your car to make your car smarter and as smart as what we have today. This is the rundown of what the device, the product looks like. We have the software which has a mobile application that sends the notification to its user about the health of the car. Then we have the hardware which sits inside the car and records the sound and processes the sound. So exactly how does this work? First thing, we actually record the sound from the car. The second thing we do is we analyze the sound and we make prediction from the sound. Then the last thing we do is we send a notification if there is a problem with the car. Our customer segments. We have identified these 3 customer segments. The users, of course, they are our users and they are our customer. But also, we have this option of partnering with mechanics and also partnering with car resellers, because they might also buy these devices and install ahead for their customers. Our market size, we decided to go through the smallest market we can find, which is the EU market. They have 252 million cars running on the EU roads, and about 90% of these cars are actually greater than, they have years greater than 5 years, which means we have about 90% of markets alone in the EU. Now, if we are going to take a very conservative figure of this 90%, which is just 10%, means we have approximately 25 million cars, so which that will be ready for our products. Now, if you do the mathematics, we have 1.25 billion expected revenue from the sales of this product, and we also intend to do about $2 monthly subscription for each of these devices. We have our competitors. Uconnect, they are only for smart vehicles, which means vehicles older than 5 years, newer than 5 years are the only ones that can have Uconnect in them. We have the MIT researchers working on this, but they don't have a product yet. And we have the good old OBD, which is already installed in cars from past times, but it doesn't give enough information as what we would like to have today. Now, this is our timeline. Up until today, we have actually been working on our prototype, and by January, we hope to be able to launch something meaningful into the market. Then, all through from January till June, we want to improve on our product and hopefully make it something that can work for even newer cars that are smart today. By September, we want to integrate our own existing system with the OBD that exists. Now, in December, we would like to measure our success. Then the team is made up of AI enthusiasts and also software engineers. Thank you, I'm Ali, and this is ANSYS.
I guess I don't need that. I'll use my lawyer voice. I'll see if people can hear. You mentioned one of your customers is car resellers.
Yes.
I guess other than lawyers, used car salesmen are the fan favorites for everyone. I can't imagine that a used car salesman would want to put a device on the car which points out the problems with the car, especially if it's over 5 years old. How do you see that segment being really your customer? How will you convince them to put it on there?
Well, when we talk about used car resellers, we would hope that car resellers will be willing to buy this device from us. Now, if you look at there are franchise car resellers like the Honda, they have a lot of franchise. They are also car resellers. Obviously, they would want to sell the good products. So those kind of franchisees will be a very reputable people that we can partner with, and obviously they would be willing to buy this product and fit it in the cars they sell out to users, before which cars they sell to users.
That makes sense. I think that's a good point. There are these certified used cars, so there's a higher end of better cars. That could be really a niche. Okay.
Thank you so much. Very interesting, and I could possibly see the market for that device or similar devices. I think my question would be, about distributing the risk. When it comes to businesses, devices, products, services, there is always a risk when it's a technical related risk that's described in simple words. Have you thought of distributing the risk? You say that your product is only sound-based, like perhaps there could be also, I don't know, added some other component, visual aspect or sound, or have you thought of making your product sort of hassle-free and distributing the risk so that it would be technically safe to use it and trusted?
Okay, yeah, so what we thought about something like that was when we realized we probably need to partner with the mechanics, because they understand the car and you most likely trust them enough to do anything inside your car. So if we are partnering with the mechanics and also the resellers, they are like the best people you can trust with your car. So easily, they would be able to do whatever installation that we need them to do into the car. Then hopefully, as time goes on, we hope that we'll be able to also partner with the manufacturers to have our devices pre-installed so you don't have to worry about an installation.
One more question about sort of the practical way, the additional value or benefit that your device provides. For those people that might already own one of those OBD devices, the plug-in devices, what is the special added advantage of including the sound and the information from sound? What does that data give you?
Well, the OBD device doesn't give you all the information you need. Like there are certain faults, like for example, if your the oil from your gel transmission box leaks out, the OBD device wouldn't give you that kind of information. If your suspensions are bad, the OBD device wouldn't give you that kind of information. If your brake pads are going bad or wearing out, the OBD device wouldn't give you that kind of information. So we hope that we would be able to give you all this kind of information from ordinary sounds, because those things actually make sounds that normal ears might not listen to. But when we have microphones closer to these things, then it's possible to process this sound and also understand what is going on with the car.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chase Hofschneider. With my partner Simon Holloway, we developed a personal silent safety alarm to help you when nothing else can. We came into NGAL with a problem and a solution, but no idea how to make it a reality. Now we do. But today we have one question for you, and that's, what do these people have in common? They're gone. Thrown in the back of a van, subject to the evils of humanity we can only imagine. With a problem like this, you would think we'd have solutions. Pepper spray, firearms, cell phones, but you know what? It's not good enough. Almost 2 million people were victims of a violent crime, according to the FBI in 2015. 2 million people who could have used our product. Last alarm, 123 911. How it works, 3 taps. The police know your location and they're on the way. It's a safety beacon. Where are you? You're right there. Who needs help? Right there. They know exactly what you look like and everything about you. Our product design ideas is a small device you can hide anywhere in your body, underneath your clothing, in your pocket, anywhere you want to, with the capabilities of furthering that into other products. How it works. The people that need help comes off the cell phone towers to our call center, who therefore notifies the police with all of your information needed. What information? What you look like, a personal picture, your height, your weight, and your allergies in case of a medical emergency. The market. Our primary market is the parents of young college-aged women. Over 12 million young women attended college in the year 2017. 1% of that population is 120,000. 120,000 times our estimated cost of $130 for the initial price of our product. That's over $15 million in revenue, plus the monthly subscription fee that would be required. We began our validation process earlier this week. We surveyed over 50 people. Now I know that's not a lot, but since 62% don't have a personal safety device, yet 82% would buy ours in a heartbeat, that means they have more faith in our product than in the current solutions. The competition is Life Alert and the cell phone in your pocket. But you know what? Last Alarm comes ahead. We're affordable, we have a nervous button, SOS button, silent, quick use, fastest response time, and we're just the best product available. Our team consists of me, Chase Hofsteiner, who has more experience in event coordination and people management, has raised over $15,000 for nonprofit use. And Simon Holloway, who's qualified for a CHIP program at Capitol Hill and his own technological capabilities. We're looking for experienced business partners, possible investors, and developers to help make this product a reality. So, my question is, do you think you can dial 911 fast enough?
Yeah.
Let's see how far I can run the time it takes my friend Sheridan to dial 911.
Sheridan, how about Wesley? How's he squat at 110?
That's almost a whole football field, and she gave very little information. They still don't really know what she looks like. Now, in this situation, do you think Sheridan has enough time to give that much information? 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds is all it took to abduct Sheridan. And she dropped her cell phone. We talked to Sheridan. We asked, would you want last alarm? Yes. She said she's been talked to cops before. They come up to her and say, hey, you better watch out because you're a prime target. You know what? She wishes she had last alarm. I wish these people had too. This is a problem. Let's end this. Thank you.
What kind of funds do you, what kind of financial resources do you anticipate you need to get this going, and what are your places to find those resources?
Okay, so our initial thought on the process is for the initial price to create the prototype, we're guessing they're going to have to be around between $100 and $200 to produce the original prototype, with the GSM chip, wireless chip, and remote cell phones. After that, we are not sure exactly how much we need. We're still developing into a company. 2 weeks ago, we just had an idea, and we had nothing else. We had no validation, we had no marketing schemes. We didn't know very much about entrepreneurship. We came into the NGAL program and learned a lot. So what we're looking for is experienced business partners and more of some mentors to help us get to where we need to with the next step and make this product a reality.
I think that sort of device needs, if you use it, you would need to have very good cooperation with different law enforcement institutions. Have you thought it through? Is it a plan how would the data that the device collects would be usable by different law enforcement authorities?
Okay, so this is also one of the reasons why we don't know how much it's going to cost to get us off the ground. We want to work closely with current law enforcement agencies to make sure that our product is as fast as possible. We've done our research on a competitor, and Life Alert currently has a direct line to the police stations. So if Life Alert can have a direct line, then hopefully we can as well. And also we wanted to go through wireless systems because Wi-Fi is faster than giving them a cell phone call. So if we can send all the information and the location via software to the police stations at the click of a button, that would be a lot faster than having to wait for our direct line to pick up, even if that's faster than the average consumer can call the police.
And I think that's the real problem. How are you going to, how much money is it going to cost to establish the network?
We're still doing research on how much it's
But I
going
mean,
to
we're talking a lot of money. I mean, nationwide alarm companies, Life Alert, they've spent years and perfecting their infrastructure, and to get space on towers is not inexpensive.
Thank you for that question. We are conducting more research. Like I said, we are a fairly new company. We have the thought process that everybody would need a device similar to this, whether it's for their children, for their loved ones, not necessarily for themselves, but right now in the audience, I have people that are thinking, I wish I had this device, or I wish this person had this device when they were attacked or kidnapped. And so, if we don't have the device already currently here, we know that the original startup costs are going to cost quite a bit, but if we find the right investor with the same mentality as us, that we hope we go out of business someday, because kidnappings and violent assaults cease to exist because our product is that wide known, then I think that we can find the funding to make this a reality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
People require different types and amounts of nutrition throughout their life, as well as we all have different food tolerances. The exact same applies for plants. The plant growth and plant nutrition consistency depends not only on fertilizers, but also on the type and amount of light. Currently, greenhouses use light that is not optimized. Most of them light that produces heat which is inefficient, expensive, and both damaging for the plant and environment, as well as they use a blended lighting solution for all the plants. My name is Tatiana, and I'm CEO and founder of Blauvelt. We develop artificial lighting systems for greenhouse operators that increase yield and decrease energy consumption. We help greenhouses to concentrate on what they're best at while we take the guesswork out of lighting. We have developed a combination of hardware and software to give each and every plant the perfect growing conditions on each stage of its growth. As well as with our proprietary software, we were able to decrease energy consumption by 2 to 10 times compared to the current systems on the market. And we were able to increase yield by 10 to 20%, and we are aiming at 40. The value of our startup comes not only from our technology, but also from our business model. We are the only ones on the market right now who is offering a subscription business model. We provide access to our hardware, software, and database on the perfect growing conditions based on a monthly fee. We help greenhouses to grow with us by giving them the lower access point to a better technology. If the greenhouse has already a system installed, we can provide them access just to our software. And our technology is really complicated, which makes it really hard to copy us, but it takes time for us to do research and development. I have put together a very strong team of experts. We have 2 electrical engineers with software development skills and industrial production skills and over 20 years of experience, as well as we have PhD student on board, and his topic is molecular plant science. We have also marketing manager and our advisor as an ex-VP of Nokia. So we help our customers to save money by decreasing energy consumption. We help them to get more income by providing higher quality and quantity of yield, as well as we give them more space to grow plants, as our system can be used vertically, horizontally, and underground. At the moment, we have 4 pilot customers and a testing facility in Estonia, as well as we are in advanced negotiations with 7 more. We have won several big startup competitions in Europe, and we've been going through 2 EU-funded acceleration programs. We've been published in the biggest media all over the world, including Mashable. And our goal is to have 50 to 100 pilot customers by Q1 2019. During the NGAL program, we have reached several milestones. First of all, thanks to our mentors, we were able to meet with Greenhouse in Nebraska Innovation Center and to know more about our competitors and to understand that we are staying on the right track. We went through the series of final interviews to 2 acceleration programs, one in Silicon Valley, one in New York. We were invited to both of them, and we signed the offer with Silicon Valley Accelerator. We also got a new team member who will be joining us in August. He will be our sales manager. He is currently doing sales for Tesla in Finland. And we also, during our time in Tallinn, we got the second place at Smart Industry Idea Hack. Right now we're searching for mentorship and funding. We would need around 500,000 to accelerate our growth and go to market and to expand our team. My name is Tatiana and I represent Lavatech, technology you grow with. Thank you for your time.
I've got two questions. First, on the market. You've got the EU and the US market, and I think the difference between the 200 million and the 800 million is the cannabis market, the marijuana growing in America?
Yes, yes.
So is marijuana your main product that you're going to gear toward your lights towards?
One off, but not really, because right now we haven't even tested marijuana because it's prohibited in the country I'm from. So right now we're focusing on lettuce, tomato, and cucumber, but of course we would like to do tests with marijuana, as well as we would want to go to greenhouses that grow flowers, because it's a huge market in the US as well.
And coming from that, if you're focusing then on the main food staple, lettuce, etc., you also said that you're hard to copy. I mean, this is an area of science and growth that has been around for a while, right? I mean, there's LumiGrow, Heliospectra, there's other companies. What is your secret sauce? What's different about what you're doing than these other companies that have been doing LED lights for a decade?
Okay, as I mentioned, they just provide one lighting solution, and the greenhouse, of course, for example, LumiGrow, they have opportunity to change the spectrum, but it's not the main point of the lamp. And the greenhouse growers not always know what would be the best type or amount of light at the specific given time. Our system would be able to detect it itself and adjust accordingly to the conditions in the greenhouse. In the future, we have also development plan that we would install sensors that would be able to for example, spectrum sensors. Right now they're really expensive, 3,000 to 5,000, and we know a way how to make them way cheaper and just to install them into our system as a package, and that will give greenhouse operators a very good feedback. Because when we were in greenhouse in Nebraska Innovation Center, they said that even if we can speed up the process by 4 days, it will give them opportunity to grow, to get one more crops, extra crop during the year, and we can do it.
How does this play into, I mean, you're talking large commercial growers. The movement in food over the last 15 years has been away from large commercial growers and towards more local food supplies and away from hothouse things with the same product year round. So I'm trying to figure out, I mean, are you trying to buttress an industry that, you know, may not have great days ahead of it, or?
Actually, it's growing because we also were doing market research, and also they're shifting to vertical growing, and we have adjusted the system also to be able to use in that sense. As well as as I mentioned, they're not only plant growers, but also flower market and cannabis market, and those are just blooming, and they will be growing in the next decade.
Thank you, Tatiana. You gave us an overview about the benefits and advantages of your product as compared to your competitors. I would be interested to hear, what do the companies who actually use your product as testers right now in Estonia, what do they say about it? Are they willing to use your product also in the future as compared to your competitor?
Yes, 2 of our product customers are paying at the moment, and we're already getting more requests, but the problem for us right now, because we have self-financed the company, and we've been just growing with grants and winning the competitions, and right now to be able to cover all the need, we would need to have an investment, and that's why we're going to Silicon Valley, because we're planning to raise money.
You have a fairly large staff already. Of all of the people involved in the company contributed financially to the company, and what kind of revenue do you have to generate to support the people you already have?
Okay, so I started this company myself, and the people who are helping me and involved in the company has changed. Currently, I'm managing to pay them salary because we got grants from Europe, from the European Union, with those 2 acceleration programs, as well as we have won, as I mentioned, several startup competitions where prize money also were substantial to do that. The pilot customers, they just cover our expenses, so we don't generate any profit.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. This is a milk bottle. It has happened to all of us that you go to the shop, take the product, place the deposit the best before date, and you go home and you see that the product is spoiled. It is impossible to know what is the condition of the milk inside. My name is Martin Mellis, and I'm the co-founder of Time. We see a problem in today's food transport system. When something is being produced, it travels to several warehouses to get its final destination. During the process, a food might not end properly, and it might go bad. The problem is that the customer have no indication of this since the traditional best before date show only the numbers. It is currently possible to get real-time information from the package. We aim to solve the problem with our smart best before indicator called Time. It's a sticker. It sticks on the package and turns from green to red based on time and temperature. It gives user visual, fast, and real-time information about the package conditions. If it kept under the right conditions, a food might be edible after the printed best before date has expired. We have a preliminary contract with big Scandinavian dairy industry called Valio for a pilot program. Other Estonian dairy industries are also interested in us, and they're making B2B selling. Our market potential is huge. In a small country, Estonia, where lives only 1.3 million people, are sold each year 500 million dairy products each year. Our indicator costs 1 cent, and this makes for us 5 million of market revenue in each year. It has been made similar products before, but they're too complicated and cost too much. Our prototyping plan consists of cheap materials and simple mass-producible production methods. There isn't any similar product on the EU markets right now. Our MVP is yes or no coaching indicator. It shows whether the product has been under the right temperatures or not. We have a funding, a lab, an office for our MVP, and we're working on it. Our team consists of 3 members. 3 of us studying applied chemistry and biotechnology in Tallinn University of Technology, and 1 food research and development. Also, all of us working in Estonia's leading food and fermentation technology development center in Tallinn. We did the hard work with different contracts like Prototron and EIS, which is Entrepreneur Estonia, during the NGAL trip. Also, we contacted with Namibia, where we're going in September. They export frozen fish products to US and EU markets, and they would like to get a product to their packages. We conducted research about the frozen fish export. We contacted with Vigala dairy industry and got that information that they're interested in us. Just 2 weeks ago,
at Tallinn. We won 2 different startup competitions at our Baltic's biggest investment conference, Latitude 59. One was Prototon and the other was Nectar Startup Week. We won a funding, an office, and we're representing Estonia in Copenhagen University Startup World Cup. My name is Martin Melits, and I'm the co-founder of Time. Thank you for listening.
Martin, obviously, I like you guys. I was in the jury in Probotron. I was part of voting for you. But a question that I didn't get to ask you maybe last time, and that's coming up here also, is you're saying one of your advantages is your price, that your competitors' tags are too complicated and too expensive. And you're indicating this 1 cent price. How do you know that you'll be able to achieve this 1 cent price, or is that a future target at some point to get to 1 cent?
We have calculated that the price, the cost of materials and the production. We're working right now in the lab, and we've ordered some materials, and we have a special calculation for that. So the maximum price is 1 cent.
So what is the actual best price that you can make a sticker right now?
Right now, I think it's 5 cents because
that's pretty good already.
Because we're not doing mass production right now.
I have a question about Vario. You said you are already cooperating with them.
Yeah.
What do they say? I mean, it's obviously a big company and active in Scandinavia and Estonia as well. What's the response, feedback from them?
Well, the first we asked them what they think about that idea. And they said that come to our office and let's talk about that. And right now, we're still on contact with them. And the deadline is right now, the end of August. And then we're starting with our pilot program. And then we'll see that how big market potential we got from them.
And then as a follow-up question, other possible customers who would possibly would like to be among the testers as well. You mentioned going to Namibia. That's pretty radical as compared to staying at first in Europe, but positive definitely of exploring faraway markets as well. What about others in Europe? Have you thought it through?
Yeah, this is a very good question. Our dream is that to get all cold chain products like e-commerce, pharma. We're right now in contact with Sinna pharma industry. They export their blood samples to Helsinki and Tallinn 2 times per day, and there this cold chain process is more critical. Also that fish production and also in Estonia we have that possibility that you're at home and order your food at some local shop in the home, and there is also one possibility to use our indicators for cold chain products.
Food labeling in the States anyway is governmentally mandated, and so the sell-by dates are sort of promulgated in, you can say, sort of crony capitalist between the large agricultural interests and the FDA. So everybody's going to have a sell-by date on. How do you convince people to add something else, the manufacturer, to add something else which has a cost? Is this a way of differentiating themselves from other products? Because, labels are already hugely complicated and they're fought about by the various industry groups. So, you're entering into a thicket, and it seems to me that your best idea would be to try to get people like the large dairy firm to use this as a form of differentiation itself, because there's already so much stuff in the label anyway.
Well, the main point is that we aim to fair trade and extra value product. And as you see that we have our customers already. So in the US, yeah, it might be a little difficult, but in Europe we have potential to succeed. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kimber Marie, and I'm CEO/co-founder of Anonymity. I'd like to start off this morning by telling you a little story about our other co-founder and my business partner, Shefali. A few years ago, she applied for a tech internship, and she made it to the second round, which was a phone interview. The very first thing the recruiter said to her when he heard her voice on the phone for the first time was, "Wow, I didn't realize you were a girl." They finished the interview, hung up, she didn't get the internship. Shefali's not alone. UN Women has predicted that gender equality in the workplace won't be achieved until 2095. That is 77 years away. Can you imagine what it's like to have your gender or your race or your age impact your opportunity for finding a job? That's why we're here, Anonymity, smart software for anonymous hiring. The way it works is when the applicant puts in their resume, our technology helps to prioritize the information that should be focused on and blind the information that shouldn't be. So when the employer sits down to review your resume, what they have in front of them is a prioritized, concise list of the competencies that they're looking for. All subjective information like name, age, and gender are completely blinded. This way they're focusing on all the right reasons for hiring. Otherwise, they could be setting themselves up for a discrimination lawsuit, which could cost them over $125,000 in legal fees. Our revenue model is simple. It starts out with an implementation fee, which is just a flat fee, and then after that, a monthly invoice based on how many job postings you've had that month. Our target market are medium businesses with an employee size from 50 to 500. Our next steps is when we go back to Charleston, we'll be focusing on testing our prototype this fall. So we're currently looking for more pilot testers to help us with this process. We differentiate from our competitors in 3 big ways. The first one is that we do a fully blind process. The second one is that we look at all of your competencies as an applicant. A lot of our competitors like to pick one talent or one assessment score to determine if you're qualified. We believe every employee brings more than one thing to the table. Our big third differentiator is the fact that the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are core to our business values. We fall under UN SDGs 5, 8, 9, and 10. We have 2 market strategies. The first one is directly to our buyers, which are HR departments and businesses. We'll be utilizing our connections and upcoming opportunities with the UN SDGs, the EEOC, and the Society for Human Resources Management to build our customer base. Our second marketing strategy is to the other end user, which is the applicant. We'll be utilizing our social media to tell our story and build our brand. Our team is made up of our CTO and 2 software developers, 2 people working on marketing and branding, and then I'm responsible for product vision. While we've been here at NGAL, we've really been focusing on our story and how we want to come across to our end users, as well as continuing our work and research on our prototype to launch this fall. So when you want to hire right, hire Anonymity, smart software for anonymous hiring. Thank you.
Let me spoil this one too. Basically, how does this fit into diversity efforts? I mean, I'm a lawyer. I see more people being sued for under-inclusion, or they didn't go out of their way to reach out to communities that have been disadvantaged historically. So, I mean, this is an interesting product, but how does it fit into the reality? You have to, I mean, as a law firm, if we want to do work for certain financial institutions, we have to go through the diversity gate and say who worked on the projects.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, this flies directly in the face of what an HR person has to deal with, because you get tested by the EEO on your overall composition. So if you don't have any women in a particular area and you're looking for a woman,
Of course.
so you have that problem.
Right. So our research is based off of a new trend in the HR industry, which is called competency-based hiring, and it's actually been shown to help increase diversity. So that's what we're testing this product on right now. Our goal is to actually work with affirmative action goals. So it's not to remove selectively looking for minorities or women to bring into your workplace, it's to work with it. So we'll be testing that process this fall with our pilot testers to make sure that works.
So it's anonymous unless you don't want it.
No, it'll be anonymous, but it's based off of the competency-based hiring, which we'll need to do more testing on to make sure that our value proposition is correct.
Thank you, first of all, for bringing such an important topic here. I would be lying when saying that I haven't faced it also in Estonia. I think it's great that you are thinking about it and developing a system to deal with it. And a question, you mentioned as your potential customers United Nations and some of the other international organizations, and then the end users. How would private businesses fit into this picture? When you started your presentation, you mentioned the private companies, and if they would be possibly the users as well, how would do you have a plan to convince them? Because I'm not quite sure whether they would be interested, all of them at least, as such, to use your product. Public pressure, I mean, possibly, I don't know, involving some political support, or what are the possible tools that you have thought of here?
So that marketing strategy, we have connections with the regional, the Charleston region of Society for Human Resources Management, and then our presentation, the UN SDGs, and we're currently working on that connection with the EEOC to figure out what it takes to become certified by them. So we'll be using them to reach out to those private businesses to help work on our own credibility to show that we are a viable human resources applicant tracking system. So that's how we're hoping to build that customer base. This is also our biggest unknown right now, though, is how effective that will be. So we're currently working on that right now.
So hi, my name is David and I'm from Restek. And what we do is that we discover antibiotic resistance. I have a little story about Anne. Anne was a college student. She went to visit a friend. She came back with a sore throat. It was nothing special. But a few days later, she ended up in the hospital. Doctors started antibiotic treatment right away. They tried 11 different antibiotics in 7 different combinations. And they couldn't save her. She still died. And sadly, this is not an isolated case. There are about 2 million people dying in the US alone. 2 million people getting infected in the US alone by these antibiotic-resistant bacteria. From those 2 million, 29,000 die. And this cost to society is 36 billion. And these are just US numbers. So who's the enemy? Enemy is bacteria. In our example, it was MRSA. You know it as well as staph infection. And how do you get staph infection? I have here an apple. Can you imagine how many people have touched this apple? How many times have this apple been dropped? If I eat it, will I be safe? Think about that. So, the problem with hospitals is that it takes too much time to analyze whatever I will get from this apple. It takes them usually 3 to 4 days to give the definite answer. And even then, it's not definite enough. Because they don't know the substrate, and they don't know if this resistance will develop during the treatment. And we want to change that. So we want to add something to the already existing pipeline. So doctors will still do normal sample collection, nothing special. What we would change is that we would add this little device there called Oxford Nanopore. It's 10-minute sample preparation. And the data goes directly to our servers. There, our generated software will analyze the data and give doctors what they really need. The data to save the patient, the strain, antibiotics that don't work, and the antibiotics that do work. That's the information doctors actually need. So, what about the market? There are over 5,000 hospitals in US. 2 million clinical cases. We can just take 5,000 a month, and with 1% of market share, we would have revenue of 5.5 million. Sounds good. So this is our team. 3 very highly motivated PhD students with background in genetics and bioinformatics. So, with our software, we would have doctors who would have saved animals. Thank you.
You have a lot of government regulations and health and organizations and things that you have to run this all through. Where do you stand with that process?
So, the idea to get to market is use parallel use in hospitals. So they will use this method they're used to, parallel with this method. But we still have to go through clinical trials. Yes. But as this device itself is cheaper, and you can imagine that Oxford Nanopore is interested in using this device and their kit in this analysis, then we think we can, if you are already showing working prototype, we can work with Oxford Nanopore and get that clinical the clinical money that we need to go through the clinical trials. It can be 10 to about 10 millions, I would say.
The other way of putting it is a medical device, even if it's a component of a medical device, has to be approved by the FDA.
Yes.
By the U.S. market.
Yes.
It takes about 4 or 5 years, typically, to get a device approved, because the FDA always slow walks everything. So, I mean, you've got a long way to market unless if you're doing the right thing by hooking onto somebody who's already in the market. And so, does your effort have a standalone, or is it something that ends up getting incorporated, acquired
by Oxford?
We don't know yet, but I can say that we are about 3 to 5 years ahead of market. So this Oxford Nanopore kit they use for analyzing, their chemicals are always growing cheaper. And they predict that 2030, sequencing human genome with this device should be only $100. Right now, it's about 500 to 1,000, depending on which device you use. So we believe that, for example, today, if you do this bacterial analysis, a single patient would be $300, but next 5 years, it could be $50 a patient. Plus, you can also mix different samples together on this device. So you can add, for example, 5 patients samples, so it would be only $10 a sample. So it has a lot of potential, but of course, clinical trials and finding a way to the market. So that's why we showed only 1%.
I have a simple question about the cooperation with doctors in its way of word against technical device. At which stage is this cooperation, and how do you plan to gain their trust?
Okay, that's a good question. For example, as I showed on the slide, we don't really want to change anything in the pipeline. So doctors wouldn't have to change anything. They will do the same sample preparation, they will take the sample the same way. But what we will change is that if that sample makes it to the place where they analyze the samples, there, the device is there, the kit is there, and there is a person who can prepare that sample for the device. In a sense, you can leave doctors out of this. But if you send this data back later on to the doctors, we can do it in real time. So let's say that our analysis takes 24 hours, but we can get the responsible gene on the 5th hour. Then we can send already data in 5 hours. That you shouldn't use that antibiotic. For doctors to trust us, they would need probably the default pathway, how they analyze data, analyze these samples right now, and that takes up to 48 hours to get.
Hi, my name is Jordan Cahill. I'm the founder of Parkway alongside my wonderful partner, NGAL. This is Memorial Stadium. 85,000 fans traveling to Lincoln in a single day, all to watch Husker football. They all want to get there on time, but we have one major common problem, and that's the parking. See, parking around the stadium is simply just not sufficient for this many people. Nebraska is going to host 68 home games within their 4 major sports next year, and attract roughly 891,000 fans to their venues. And you can see this as a local problem, but it's also a national one when you consider there are 367 Division I teams in the nation and 106 professional teams within the 4 major American sports. We believe we have a solution to their problem. Our solution is Parkway, the Airbnb for your driveway. We're going to help users save time because right now Americans spend $73 billion on finding parking spots alone. We're going to eliminate the frustration of finding the parking spot itself. And we're going to mitigate tickets because this costs Americans $20 billion annually. It's also a secondary income for those willing to rent out their driveways. It's quick, easy cash. So for our app, you're going to download it, you're going to type in your location and look for parking spots within these high-demand areas. You're then going to book the spot in advance and pay safely and securely over the app. Nice and easy. Within 3 to 6 months, we want to have this app developed and ready to go for Husker Sports and the College World Series in Omaha. We believe these are 2 smaller market segments that could really validate our idea, and they're right in our backyard. Within 1 year, we want to have this app validated, and we want to push to Boulder, Colorado. My partner lives there, and she's seen extreme parking frustrations throughout the city. Whether it's the college campus or shopping centers, it's all surrounded by residential areas that we believe we can tap into the parking spaces. Within 3 to 5 years, we want to launch in the top 10 U.S. populated cities because we know this is a problem we can solve for the everyday American. So for our competitive market right now, there's 2 apps out there. One is Barking in Estonia, one is Spot Hero in the United States. Both of these apps have major shortcomings that we believe we can capitalize on. So for Barking, they focus on the average everyday, day-to-day parking, and we want to focus on these huge one-time revenue-generating events and really nail that. And then Spot Hero, they focus on commercial parking, and we want to focus on the residential, but they have this side of the app, which is the pre-booking, that users love, so we want to incorporate that. We want to take the best things from both apps to make ours the best it can be. So right now our team is comprised of myself, the CEO, Angela Gallo, our Chief Operating Officer, and then Todd Wolf, our software developer, who's going to help us get this app up and rolling. Our revenue system is pretty simple. We're going to charge 15% to those renting out their driveways, and this is going to come out of their revenue. Our cost structure, we're going to focus on marketing and sales, app development, and an insurance pool. So for the pool, we're going to take a small amount from each transaction and put it into a liability pool so we can stay on top of things like insurance and liability issues. This is something we need to stay on top of because it's very important. So in one single Division I college football Saturday, if we have 5% of fans renting out a $10 spot across the country, we can generate $4.2 million for our users and $750,000 for ourselves. That's one college football Saturday. So because our idea is so young, our ask is not going to be for a specific dollar amount. We want to ask you guys for your advice. We want people on our team that can help us with our go-to-market strategy. We realize you guys have more wisdom than we could ever have right now at this point, so we need help. Thank you for your time. This is Parkway. We'll take any questions.
I would think that at most of his locations, your competition is the people that own the driveway. The big stadiums I go to, it's very easy to get a very reasonably priced parking spot through the people who own the houses. So I would see that as a more competitive issue. Plus, every firm that sells tickets will also find me a parking place. So I would think that would be major competition.
So there is competition within that area. When we go to Husker football games, we see people standing in their driveways with these signs that say, $20, come park here. So we know it's a market that exists. We just want to organize it and make it safe and secure in that respect.
So you're going to have to share your revenue with me to use my driveway.
Well, as the person who owns the driveway, you'll receive revenue in an organized way. We're going to take a small portion of it, but yes, we will be sharing revenue a little bit.
I imagine for me, I've done this in spring training in Arizona, right? And for me, the pain was driving around the neighborhood, looking at these signs, sort of shopping by driving, right? One driveway says $20, next one says 10, next one says 50, and I think the pre-booking might be a huge advantage, Before leaving the house, I already know which driveway to go to and how much it's going to cost. So I think for me, that would be the benefit. What I'm interested in is, you said you're looking for wisdom, you're looking for advice. What kind of advice would be most useful for you right now?
So we really need to get the app started, the development process of the app started.
So tech, maybe?
Tech, pretty much. We have, like I said, the software engineer, but he has a secondary job and he's not going to be able to devote all his time to us. So we really need people or a person that's strong in the tech field that we can get this app started. But like you said, with the pre-booking part, that's also another feature that we're really excited about, because Google Maps will take you somewhere and you know how much time that takes. But if you pre-book a spot, you can know how much time it takes to walk from that spot to the stadium. So you can leave your house exactly, and you know how much time it's going to take you to get to your final destination.
Thank you.
guys, I'm CJ Walker. I'm the founder and president of Turch Products. What we do at Turch is we take used Major League Baseball rain tarps from the baseball fields, repurpose them into products, bags, belts, and wallets, and then sell them back to the baseball fans as authentic fan memorabilia. So the problem that Turch tackles is twofold. One, baseball fans yearn to feel more connected with their team. Think about it. Each franchise has about 10,000 self-proclaimed number one fans. They can't all be number ones, they're all competing for it. They're willing to do whatever it takes to be that number one fan. And secondly, there's an environmental problem. There are these 24 tons of baseball tarps, 24 tarps per team that has a tarp, and at the end of the season, it's just tossed into this landfill. It's very slowly decomposed material, and it just takes up space in the landfill. Now, what Turch does is first, we take the tarps out of the landfill and we repurpose it. And secondly, we give these fans the ability to feel more connected with their team. The products are authentic, they're durable, they're usable, and they're eco-friendly. So, a little bit about the product. We got the prototype sphere, Chris Adam, that's my vice president. And those are belts. We have 3 products: belts, bags, and wallets. The belts are made in Charleston, South Carolina. The wallets are made in Somerville, South Carolina, which is just outside of Charleston. And then the bags are made in Greenville, North Carolina. So, this guy, that's a real person. They have eyes and ears just like you and me, and they do that. That's who we're appealing to. So for our market strategy, it's trifold. 1, we sell in the stadiums. We capitalize on this euphoric environment in the baseball stadiums. Secondly, we sell online to these baseball fans. Did you know that each Major League Baseball franchise has over 1 million fans? The smallest market in Major League Baseball is Cincinnati, Ohio. That's a pretty big city, much bigger than Charleston. And there are 1.2 million Cincinnati Reds fans in Cincinnati, Ohio alone. That's not even counting the fans that moved to Florida, moved to California. It's a huge market, and each tarp yields 11,000 products. We make 3,700 bags, 3,700 belts, and 3,700 wallets. So we have to appeal to less than 1% of each market to sell out of our inventory yearly. Now, we sell each product at $65. We're willing to look at the performance of each product and then make changes as we go. Right now, we're going to sell each product at $65. We have an average margin of $54 per product. And so we would profit of just under $400,000 per Major League Baseball tarp. Multiply that times 24 and you get about $9 million a year. So what we need, what are our next steps? 1, we're going to get a tarp. I'll be in Philadelphia starting on Monday at an internship at Lincoln Financial. Whenever I get a chance, I'll be at Citizens Bank Park, bothering the partnerships, head of partnerships for Philadelphia Phillies, knocking down his door. Secondly, we will need a $150,000 investment for our first tarp. That will cover all expenses. And third, we eventually want to get all of our manufacturing under one roof. I mentioned that we have 3 different locations. We want to get a manufacturer that does it in one location. I'm CJ Walker. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to Turch Products.
Do you have to what extent do you have to get approval of the teams or the leagues to sell your product anywhere?
I'm glad you asked that. Are you talking about licensing or selling in the stadiums? Both. Okay, for licensing, we have that here, the licensing payout. The average licensing percentage that Major League Baseball demands is 14%. And the way it works is if I get a licensing agreement for Major League Baseball for, say, the White Sox, it's not just a White Sox logo that I can now use. I can now use every single logo for each team in Major League Baseball. And the way they divide it up is 31st percentages, basically. And Major League Baseball, all 30 teams gets a percentage of it, and then Major League Baseball gets that 31st percentage.
I've been here in US for 3 years now, and I completely understand that the market for different goods when it comes to baseball and American football, it's huge, and the appetite from fans, it's endless basically. But at the same time, obviously, there's a lot of competition. You mentioned that your difference from your competitors, some of the aspects like environmental aspect, but when it comes to the products that the fans buy, my logic says that the only thing that really matters is the price. And I don't know, maybe you have conducted a research and I'm wrong. But a simple question, how important are these other things for fans that you mentioned as opposed to only the price?
That's a good point. Thank you for asking that. And the reason I wanted you to ask that is because, Vineyard Vines, they sell belts with sports teams' logos for $65, which is the same price we're selling it for. So we have it in mind that if they're buying them for the same price, they're going to buy much more authentic products for $65 as well, with the potential for the price to increase in the future. And another thing, we're also competing against memorabilia companies. And when you think about it, say an autographed baseball, it's really, really cool. Say you have it signed by Aaron Judge, who's a big player for the Yankees. All that baseball can do is sit on a shelf and just, you look at it. That's all you do. You pick it up, you touch it, boom, depreciated in value. With these products, with this memorabilia, you can use it, you can show it off, and you can wear it out.
All right. We'll now take a 20-minute intermission while the judges convene to deliberate their decision. And while they're doing that, enjoy some refreshments in the foyer. And I want to invite our pitch teams to also join the audience in the foyer. If you happen to brought your checkbook and want to get started on the ground floor with any of these companies, this is your opportunity. So take advantage of talking with the students about their products, about their pitches. I'd love to have you interact with them in the foyer. And I will prompt you to come back when the judges are ready. Thank you. Welcome back. Anybody on the ground floor? In on the investment side of any of these yet? All right. You probably don't want to disclose that. I can understand that. Well, before we learn about the destiny of any of these teams, I would like to introduce and invite the faculty who have been involved in this program to come forward and join us on the stage. Following that, I'll invite the students and the teams to join us on the stage for the presentation of the awards. The faculty have been involved from Nebraska Wesleyan University. James Perry, Associate Professor of Professional Studies. James. Jordan Ryder, Professor of Chemistry. From the College of Charleston. Tricia Folds Bennett, Dean of the Honors College. From the Citadel, William Trumbull, Professor of Economics. From the University of Tartu, Moret Ahonen, Idea Lab Manager. From Tulane University of Technology, Katre Perga, TTU Startup Hub Manager. And I'd also like to stop and just publicly recognize Ms. Leanne Oshner. She's been our event coordinator for hosting here. She's also a recognition of events and directing financially guide me. And lastly, representing the Harry and Reba Hughey Foundation, NGAL Director and COO of Change Ventures, Brent Comstock. Will all the student teams please come forward and join us on the stage?
There's a little point here.
So I tried to not speak this entire event and that didn't work, but I'm going to slow down a lot because I know they're going to stare at me the whole time. I had the pleasure of spending the last 2 weeks with everyone on stage here, for better or for worse. And over the course of the time where we started in Tartu, then we went to Tallinn, then we came here, each of the teams have made significant progress. Some of them changed their names, some of them changed their entire companies, as indicated in their programs. And throughout the last 2 weeks, they've had an opportunity to meet some really great mentors in all three of the different communities. So without those mentors and without the faculty, we would not be able to do this. Now, the more important matter of business, though, is distributing the winnings. So I will explain a couple of things. So we have 8 teams, and they were each evaluated by the judges on 8 different sections, including the problem that they addressed, the explanation of the product, the customer segments, market size, the next steps for what their venture was going to do, and then their assistance required presentation, deliverability, and their progress throughout the last 2 weeks, which for each of them has been unique and mass in many proportions. So we will announce the top 3 teams, and for numbers 4 through 8, each team here will go away with something. Teams 4 through 8 will receive $500 each, and then Team 1 in first place will receive $3,000. Team 2 will receive $2,500. And Team 3 will receive $2,000. I think I got those numbers right. So, with that, I will introduce the team in third place. They have never been this quiet the entire time.
Enjoy the silence.
I'm going to sit down. The team in third place from Nebraska Wesleyan is Parkway. The team in second place from Estonia is Resdek. And also from Estonia, the team with the first place prize, which will also receive dedicated mentorship from our investment team at Change Ventures, is timing. So with that, we will be taking some pictures, and we will be collecting with the teams, and we would like to invite Harry to come up on stage, and he'll give his first monologue. The second one to be followed at lunch. So I would let's give a round of applause for Harry.
Congratulations, all of you. And you really have been quiet. I think and congratulations to the faculty, even though you're in the dark. And to the judges. I must say I'm glad I was not a judge. One of the wonderful things about Reba's and my position is we get to watch all these wonderful young people perform. And I was thinking that every time we have this event, I always think the future of the United States and of Estonia is bright. Sometimes it looks dim, but these kids are bright. How many monologues do I get?
We reserve the next hour.
I said a lot last night, but I just want to repeat something that I said, in which some of you are going to go with more money than others. Some of you are going to go away happier than others. Some of you are going to go away sad, or at least a little bit. But then you'll reflect on this experience and you'll say, hey, this was a good thing. This was a very good thing. Last year at the close of NGAL 3, I borrowed a phrase from the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, in which I said, I now declare NGAL 4 over. NGAL 3, the young people of Estonia and Nebraska and South Carolina will once again gather for NGAL 5. We'll be there with money. So NGAL 4 is over. NGAL 3 will take place a year from now, somewhere. NGAL 5 is now coming up. I'm losing track of, at least we're not doing Super Bowl with Roman numerals. Anyway, lunch is served when, Bill, now?
We can depart for now, and unless you want to take a photo while we're here and then. Yep.
Yes, please do. Also, I want to thank the crowd, the people all for coming. This is very heartening to all of us, and in particular the students who have performed. Brent makes it sound like they had a walk in the park for 2 weeks in Estonia, and then another walk in the park here in Lincoln. But they worked. They were complaining to me last night. I didn't even get a chance to go out and drink. Now some of them will go out and drink.
Some of them are old enough to go out and drink.
So thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Close in.